Okay, Ed, tell us some stories.
Tell you some stories. Are you on truth or lies?
Ooh.
You asking about the early days of the Greenville Natural History Association. Well, I wasn't involved in the very early days of the association. However, I was acquainted with some of the people who were. For instance, Dr. J. Shula, Gil Rowland, uh, Albert Southern, Joe and Virginia Garrett, at least those I know were acquainted with the very early days. There were a few other people that I did not know that were also instrumental in putting it together. I went to one or two early meetings. One, I met with Dr. Albert Southern out at Furman, and we were going to hike that day, but it started raining as soon as we got there, so canceled the first hike. However, in later years, we've hiked in many a rainstorm. One of the happy occasions of this organization was early in my association with it. The particular hike that I'm going to tell you about was not one of the scheduled hikes of the group, but I happened to be living in Spartanburg at the time and met a friend over there who had just learned about Mount LeConte. He and his bride had been up there, and he wanted me to go back with him at a later date. He arranged for a group and made reservations, and I didn't know what to expect. And that was a time when we had to work on Saturday mornings until noon and then get off and drive for 3 hours to get to the starting point of Mount LeConte. And we did, but this young man that was taking was about 6 feet tall and weighed 115 pounds. So, and he hiked like a jackrabbit fast. And it just about did me in on the very first trip. When we got up there, of course, it was right about dinner time. It was such a late start. And so I lay down on the floor beside the fireplace to get warm, although it was still early in the season. It was the 13th of October, my first date with Mount LeConte. I didn't think I was going to survive it, but I did. And I went back many times to when I realized it wasn't all that tough. It was just that I was not tough enough at the time. It turned out to be a great hike for me. Introduced me to hiking because I had done none prior to that time, except when I was a young teenager. We used to walk up to Paris Mountain and back in one day. Thought nothing of it. But that led me into looking or keeping my eyes open for some hiking opportunity. Then one day I found a little article in our local newspaper that were talking about the organization of a Greenville Natural History Association. Was an association which consisted of hiking and nature, loving plants especially. And there were several people in that group that were pretty much experts in identifying trees and other plants. However, when they got on board, there was not much hiking done. We were doing mostly looking at plants and flowers and trees, and so a couple of miles was a pretty full day. Among those early ones who were very good were Joe and Virginia Garrett. They hiked a lot. They knew miles and miles and miles of trails in the Blue Ridge Parkway area. They were, knew all kind of trails, and Virginia was especially good at identification of flowers, so they both had a good time. Joe was a good hiker and a fisherman, and they worked together as a team. Joe's health started failing very early, though, and he had to give up hiking. But Virginia kept it up, and she led us on many, many very productive hikes. Another early one was Margaret Brockman. She was short, but she was not short on energy. She also knew lots of trails in the Pisgah forest area, and led many, many hikes for us. She had lots of experience. Now, to be specific about some things, Bill Bozeman was one of the earlier hikers, not in the very beginning perhaps, but Bill, as long as his health held up, enjoyed hiking and leading this group. He led many, many of our hikes. One thing about Virginia Garrett, she loved to hike in the snow. So every time there was a snowfall in the Blue Ridge Parkway area, Virginia wanted to go and take her group, and we did. We hiked a lot in the snow and enjoyed it. I still do like the snow, but I can't get out and hike anymore. One time we were going to hike on to the Horse Pasture River, which was sort of a newcomer hike to our organization, but lots of people were interested in it. And this particular day, I was the leader of that trek, and we had 47 people who wanted to go. Well, we all arrived at the starting point, and I got up on a stump and preached my little sermon about we must stay together. I got too many people. It's so easy to get separated unless you stay together. Well, at our first checkpoint, about 2 miles into the hike, we checked off and we were short 2 people. These 2 people were very experienced hikers, so we couldn't understand why they were not with us. So what could we do? Some of the faster hikers decided they would go back to the starting point and see if we dropped them along the way somewhere. Then the rest of us decided to move on to our destination. Well, another couple of miles down the trail, our 2 missing hikers showed up. They hadn't gotten lost at all. They didn't think what they happened. One of them wanted to show the other fella a waterfall that was not on the hike schedule but nearby. Well, he didn't bother to tell the leader or anyone else. They just disappeared, which was a no-no, but it was all right with them, they thought, because they knew the trail. It was no problem. But they showed up. We finished the hike and enjoyed that very much. There's a little story about Bill Bozeman and Rosemarie Cothran. Rosemarie was a good hiker. Came here from Germany during World War II. Her husband was a pilot in the Air Force, I believe. Anyway, Rosemarie liked to hike, and so this was a Saturday morning. We were going to do a short hike up to the Wildcat Falls. And so we went up, enjoyed our lunch beside the falls, and we're coming back to the starting point. We came to a little stream that we had to get across, and so Rosemarie asked Bill how she could get across it. He said, well, Rosemarie, you can jump that little stream, but there was a sort of a bank on the opposite side, and Bill said, just jump over to here and I'll catch you. Well, what do you know? Bill didn't catch her. So Rosemarie fell butt first right into that cold water. Needless to say, Bill Bozeman was on her list for a long time. Although Bill did lots of things, he didn't miss her intentionally, but he might have been a little bit careless and tried to catch her. One of the another right interesting people that we hiked with regularly was a fella named Lou Boggs. Lou was a country guy from over in Oconee County, and he worked in Greenville. He knew a lot of people, but he also did a lot of hikes over in the Oconee, Pickens County area. Lou always wanted to ride with me, and he always wanted me to drive. Lou also wanted to make sure that there's 2 other people in that car, so we'd have a full car, but they had to be female. Lou enjoyed walking and talking with females, although there's no problem. There's nothing of interest otherwise in those other than companionship, but he always wanted to make sure he filled the car full of women. We tried to
fill it full
do
of women.
that, too.
We did. Come on.
Jane Snipes was another lady who had an extreme amount of knowledge in hiking, and she was also a plant expert. She knew all the wildflowers and what to do about them. Unfortunately, Jane developed cancer and left us at an early age. We all have missed Jane and her experience. A lot of our hikers, particularly the older ones, have experienced a hiking situation that not many people in the world have. And as far as I can determine, we have at least 5 of our members who have hiked the entire Appalachian Trail. Jan Jackson, Bill Bozeman, Don and Jean Arthur, B.J. Templeton, Peggy Abercrombie, Pat Hensley. No?
Oh.
Pat said she didn't make it. Pat barely made the first hike that we went on. I have
Black
to tell
Rock
you about Pat. We were going on a hike that most of us had not been on. It was new and over near Dillon, Georgia, Black Rock Mountain State Park. Okay, we were hiking away, and it was Pat's first hike with us. And being all out of shape for hiking, she complained every other step of that hike. And she said, "I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die right here." I said, "No, you're not, Pat. You take another step first. Take another step." And sure enough, Pat didn't die. She finally made it. It was difficult for her, but she made it. I kept telling her, "Pat, you got to keep going." Anyway, Pat made the hike complete, and I don't know whether she's ever been back to that state park or not.
Never been.
But
This is Raymond Ball.
No, like right there.
but she had a tough time on that, but it didn't cool her ambition to start being a good hiker.
And you let me
She-
come back.
Which she turned out to be, and she still does so. One of the most interesting hiking stories I think I've experienced is we were on the hike, the what's the name of the state park?
Jones Gap?
Jones Gap. We were going to hike Jones Gap State Park, and we're going to start at the top, hike down to where it joined the Cold Springs Branch Trail, and then hike back up. Had a nice crowd of about 25 people that day, and we were moving along very nicely, going down, and before we got to the turnoff point, we were overtaken by another man who was hiking with another group, and he said, "One of your ladies has fallen and gotten hurt, and she's sitting on the trail back here, and somebody needs to go back and tend to her." So what do we do out there in the wilderness and somebody's hurt? So our friend Bill Bozeman ran down to the to the ranger station to alert some help. Half of the group decided to go on, and I took the other half back. But in the meantime, we had to do something about this woman. She's sitting on the ground and got a broken ankle. Fortunately, we had with our group, and this young lady, as John Holliday was binding up her broken ankle, he looked up at her and said, "Young lady, how much do you weigh?" And she rightly said, 190 pounds.
Golly.
190 pounds, and we've got to carry her some way back up this trail to the highway. Well, as good members of a hiking club, they always got some ingenuity, and so two of the guys went out in the woods and they came back with some long, strong poles, and some others found some cross pieces, and somebody furnished some twine and helped us tie all that together. We borrowed a couple of jackets from somebody and put on that, padded a little bit, and then we parked her on that homemade litter, and we carried her for a couple of miles back up the trail, and at times there was only room for one person on the trail, and so the other side of the litter carriers we had to walk down below trail or above trail, as the case may be. Anyway, we carried her about 2 miles until we met some people from an EMS unit, and they brought it in a professional litter, and they put her on it, and along with 4 of their people and 4 of ours, they finished carrying that young lady back up the trail to an ambulance that was waiting at the top.
Wow.
That's just one of the experiences that we've had on the trail that turned out to be very interesting. It seems that most of my stories about the hiking club have to do with a misfortune. One day we had hiked up to Looking Glass Rock, which is one of the most predominant scenes in the mountains area, and which is a bald face rock. Very nice place to stop and have lunch, which we always did. And as we were sitting there, one of the ladies said, talking to A.J., and what's the matter? You're not eating your lunch? He said, "Oh, I've got a terrific pain in my chest, and I've already taken a nitroglycerin tablet, and it's still there. It won't go away."
AD, yeah.
Yep, A.D. Harris.
So we said, "Well, what we gonna do?" Well, I was sitting down on the rock below him, and Jane Snipes was above us. She said, "Well, I always heard that you're supposed to get people who might be having a heart attack their feet above their head." So what do? They take these big old hiking club shoes and across my shoulders as I'm sitting on the rock in front of him. And we stayed that way until some help came. And the way we got help that day was two of our members, Pat Hensley and someone else,
Clint.
ran, I mean literally ran down the mountain, got in my car somehow and got a cell phone and drove down to the ranger station to call for some help. The nearest help for that kind of a patient is a helicopter from the hospitals in Asheville. Well, they were alerted, and in due time, we hear the plop, 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 plop of a helicopter coming, and it came over, looked to see where we were, and unfortunately, there's no place close by that they could land that helicopter. But they did have a space earmarked that they could land about 3/4 of a mile back up the trail. So they landed, got their professional litter out, got this young man on the litter, and it going up a mountain trail. It's pretty treacherous, and then it just so happened that we had some of our people carrying, and some of there was only 2 people on the helicopter crew, so we had to furnish 6 people to help carry that man up the trail. Right in front of our group was
Was it Norm? Was it Norm?
Norm.
yeah,
Norm
Rungy.
was
Okay, tell us about Norm leading the.
And A.D. Harris?
Yep.
So Norm Runge was helped carry this litter. He hit a muddy spot and fell, and all of the rest of it fell right over top of him.
Oh.
So now we have a man with a heart attack, and AJ and Norm had a broken ankle. So we had another dilemma on our hands. So the ambulance crew left because they could not take anybody else on the helicopter, no room, and so it took off, and we took it to the hospital in Asheville. So what was left of us had to help AJ walk down that mountain one step at a time.
Ooh.
With a broken
Yeah.
ankle.
Norm. Yeah.
He got down off the trail about 8 o'clock at night.
Really?
So he called his wife, and they lived in Columbia. So she had to meet him at the Columbia Hospital. He, of course, told her about what time he would get there, and she met him at the hospital, and he later had to have surgery on his foot to get back. But he did come back hiking after he got well.
That was exciting.
Yeah.
AD also spent about 10 days in the hospital in Asheville, but he too got well and got to hiking again. So everything is not gloom and doom. Everything is funny and fun.
I hope that hike that we like hearing about is on your paper.
You want me to?
Oh yeah.
We want-
Oh,
we-
yeah.
We want that high.
Steve Root episode.
The orange in the water?
That's the one.
That's the one. We want to hear that
That's
one
our favorite one.
before my.
Before the-
Your power couplers.
Okay, this is a story about an orange. It is a story about a hike up in the DuPont
Yeah.
forest.
No, it was
Was
in
it-
the Western.
It was Wintergreen Falls.
Thompson.
Wasn't
Yeah.
Thompson
They
Forest.
call it something else now, I think.
Yeah, okay.
We were hiking into a waterfall,
it? Wintergreen?
Wintergreen Falls.
Falls, that's what it was.
Right. And it has a beautiful spot to eat lunch. There's a nice waterfall with a big pool at the bottom of it and some rocks to sit on. And so our crowd gathered at lunchtime at this location, and in the process of getting ready to eat lunch, one of our members, Steve Root, took an orange out of his backpack and dropped it. And of course it rolled right down into the water, which is right much of it a drop because we were on a rock formation that was well above the pool. And I said, well, see, maybe I can flip it out with my hiking stick. And so I take one step toward the pool with my hiking stick and not knowing it was slick. There I go, sliding feet first all the way down that rock till I hit the water. And I didn't stop. I just kept going until the water was up to my neck. And you know when it was? February 1st, 2002. And that
Good cold year.
normally is very cold weather. It was cold that day, although it wasn't quite down to freezing. So what happens? Well, I finally claw my way back up the rock, and here I am in wet clothes, just above freezing temperatures, on this rock. And so we had a right good group of people that day, maybe 24, 25, and a lot of them were women. So up on top rock where I had climbed back out, there's several women said, well, we got to get these wet clothes off of him before he freezes. Well, they start taking off jackets, shirts, sweaters, whatever I had on, pants and boots, and they started collecting clothes for me to put back on. Well, you can't imagine what an assortment of clothes I wound up wearing back home. And I got home wearing some ladies' pants, ladies' socks, someone else's shirt, someone else's jacket, and I was able to salvage my boots because nobody else could wear them anyway, and we, with some dry socks, were able to walk in them. So that was quite a lunch date that day. After I got home, my wife said to me, I thought you said you were going hiking today, but whose clothes are these? And no further comment about that.
You used to always lead a hike that I remember, going on the way to Casher's at High Hampton Inn. Do you remember doing that? Chimney top.
Tops.
Chimney top. That was my first Saturday hike that you took me on, Ed.
The chimney top.
Chimney top, yeah.
Oh, at High
Hampton.
Fairfield.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
you used to.
remember that. I don't remember.
You used to lead that a lot.
Yeah, I used to leave it a lot because it was a real nice hike and not too strenuous. It had a beautiful view at the top
it
of the
did.
mountain. You could sit there, dangle our feet over the edge, and just enjoy this scenery down below.
Another hike you used to lead at Pisgah, there was I can't think of the name of it. It used to be near a picnic area, and we'd go, and there was ferns. It's like not Twin Falls. It was past the ranger station. Oh, I'll think of it now when we go up there. It's one of those stops.
Cool Tree Loop.
Maybe Coontree and up over the mountain. And sometimes we'd end over like the road where the horse stables were.
Yeah.
Come
Yeah.
around.
Oh, yeah.
What was that?
That's mine.
About a stable.
I can't think of the name. We always think of you when we go over there.
One I like especially up there was Pilot Mountain.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
that one.
Yeah.
And also East Fork of the Pigeon River.
That was
I
one of
remember
your
you
favorite
taking
ones.
us on
The swimming pool hole. And the East Fork of the Pigeon
Yeah.
River.
We used to always cool off in the Pigeon
Yeah.
River, whether we had a bathing suit or not.
I'm not sure about that. Although I believe it. One time, Big
Harry.
Big Harry, was taking all his clothes
Fran
off.
and I used to always want to get wet,
Always.
so we always took a bathing suit on a hike. And how you go swimming on a trail? Well, we always managed to find a pool or stream or something to get in. One time we went on a hike up in the Pisgah area, and it must have been a dry season because we couldn't find a pool to get in. So Fran and I put on our bathing suits and just lay down in the creek
I remember that.
to get cool.
I remember that. The other thing I remember, one time that I think Bill Bozeman was leading and got us pretty well lost, and it was one of my early hikes. I was fairly terrified, and you were looking after me that day, and you said, well, we'll sing some songs. I think we sang our way through the entire Baptist hymnal, but that's how you kept me walking and kept me from being terrified. I do remember that. I don't remember the name of the hike.
It was the south. It was the hotel in the South Mills River, up the South Mills River, and we used to up you used to go up Turkey Pen Gap
Oh,
and then down alongside the river
Yeah.
up to the hotel.
was
And
that
we
Umpteen River?
had to wade the river.
Yes.
Well,
Umpteen River
no,
crossings.
that's not
Not
the
that
same.
one.
That wasn't the same hike because we went. Bill said, we could go up the Laurel Falls, I think it was, Laurel Creek Falls, which went into the South Mills River. And they said, we can do a loop.
Oh, yeah, the
Bill,
Whitewater Falls.
It wasn't Whitewater Falls, Laurel Creek Falls.
Flat Laurel Creek?
Was it Laurel Creek Falls?
Oh, could
You
be.
mean-
That's way back.
What was the name of the hotel though? Down South Mills River, we go up Turkey Pen Gap Road and then
Is that where that chimney was?
the chimney, yeah.
There was a chimney in the middle of a field. For some reason I associated with the Vanderbilt family, but I don't know why.
It was an hotel.
Oh, yeah, the chimney, that was with the site of the old Vanderbilt hunting lodge.
That was it.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
So what was the name of it?
But that-
Hunting lodge.
That's
well,
South Mills River, I believe.
I think
yeah,
so.
South Mills River.
And,
Yeah.
they had several bridges, suspension bridges across, and they had a
That's
flood one time and washed the bridges out. And one of them, the last one up there, before you get to the chimney was turned up on its edge.
Yes.
And we crossed the river holding on to the cables and walking I guess it was something like a 2x4 that was turned up on edge. It's the only way you can get across the river at that time.
I can't believe the places you guys took me.
Now, were you on the hike when Rosemary got lost?
Yes.
Can you tell about that one?
That was up at Graveyard Fields.
Yeah.
That's the same
Tenant
place
Mountain.
we picked blueberries.
That was it. I remember the blueberry hike.
I don't know if that was a blueberry hike or not.
It
I
was.
believe it was. Anyway, we hiked these low bush, hiked through the low bush blueberries in season. And we had pretty good sized groups that day.
Yeah.
And in coming back down the mountain, getting ready to end it, at the parking lot, Rosemary Cuthbert says, "Well, I've lost my glasses, but I think I know where I might have dropped them." She says, "I'm going back and look for my glasses." And it's getting late in the day then. So she goes back, and the last I saw of her, she was going over a ridge, which she should not have done. Instead of making a turn to the left where the trail turned, she went straight and went over the hill. Anyway, it got later and later and later. It started getting dark, and Rosemary has not come back. So there again, we alerted the rangers. They always have somebody out looking for lost hikers. But so they sent a crew out looking for them, and I had some people riding with me, so I couldn't spend the
I think
night.
I was with you.
I was with you also.
And we had to get back with my passengers, so we took those back. Some people decided just to stay on overnight, if necessary, to try to find Rosemary. Well, Bill Bozeman and I, having passengers, we had to go home, and we decided we'd get up early the next morning and go back and see if they still needed some help. Well, we got back up there, and they assigned us an area to search, and it was partially in this same area I was talking about where we picked blueberries. Well, along about 9 or 10 o'clock that morning, must have been around 10 o'clock, we heard the siren blow, which was an indication that Rosemary had been found. Well, she kind of found herself and was walking out this mountain road, and she came upon somebody, perhaps one of the rangers, and they drove her back to the parking lot, and they had an ambulance there waiting on her, a doctor to check her over and make sure she's all right. She was very unconcerned about having spent the night out in the woods alone. We said, "Well, Rosemary, how did you do it?" She said, "Well, when it started getting dark, I just gathered up some leaves under a tree and went to sleep."
That was a good
We
one.
said, "That's incredible. All these people out there looking for you all night, and here you are asleep."
What I remember about that day is that Joe and Estelle,
they were lost.
Joe Nickel and Estelle Looper, when we came back, suddenly they weren't with us. And so Rosemary was in the search party that went to look for them, and then she realized she'd lost her glasses. In the meantime, Joe and Estelle came walking out.
Oh, I forgot.
I remember you drove me. We went looking to see if they had come out at one of the other overlooks.